Welcome to Pastoring on Purpose, the official podcast of the Center for Ministerial Care. Coming to you live from the floor of the 2026 Church of God International General Assembly in beautiful Orlando, Florida.
Welcome to another episode of Pastoring on Purpose. Dr. Maness here in hot, humid Orlando. Actually getting some rain today, Ryan.
Is it? I haven't been outside.
Oh, it's pouring outside.
It is pouring. Yeah.
Oh, so it's going to be humid.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's pretty here.
It is pretty here.
It's very beautiful here.
Are you saying we're working you too hard? You haven't even been outside, right?
Yeah, I'm covering your shift. No, I don't know. I'm just teasing.
Someone's got to do it, right?
That's right.
Someone's got to do it. Well, I'm really excited about this episode because today we have Dr. Jess Bradley with us. Hello,
Yes.
Jess. Kind of share with us a little bit about your background,
Okay.
So that our listeners that are listening can kind of get a feel for who you are.
Okay.
And we'll kind of go from there.
Sure. I like to say that I do have a fancy name. My fancy name is Dr. Jessica Bradley. So I'm a doctor of clinical psychology,
Okay.
licensed clinical psychologist in a couple states. But informally, I'm Jess, and most people in the Church of God denomination call me Fish's wife. Being in the role of pastor's wife is the greatest privilege ever, but that's how a lot of people know you. So very informally, that's who I am. I grew up COG. I grew up going to camp and finding my people there has been really cool. And so getting to serve in youth ministry now is just like the greatest thing ever. So my husband is on staff at Lifeline Church in Princeton, West Virginia, which is how we landed here at General Assembly. So this is his first year as an ordained bishop, his first time on General Council.
Okay.
So he's excited to be here, and I'm excited to be involved.
Is he enjoying that process?
He is, and I'm kind of a nerd. I've watched the live stream of this for years because I like to understand what's going on.
Sure.
You know, it's important.
It is interesting, too, right, with some of the topics that are take place on the floor. And first of all, when I found out, I met you, I think, yesterday, officially, and when I found out you were a licensed general psychologist, right, I thought to myself, we got to have you on, and especially with the fact that you have a Church of God background. Not only that, but you are serving in a Church of God church out in a position, and I guess you can say you're kind of bivocational in a way, aren't you?
In some ways, yeah. So I'm not technically on staff. My husband is on staff, but if you are involved in ministry, you understand this is a family business.
It is.
So whenever he's got responsibilities, I've got responsibilities, and we just survived camp season.
Yep.
Which in youth ministry, that's the biggie for us.
Absolutely.
So we are coming down off of that right now.
Well, it is a 2-for-1 special, is what I like to call it,
Yes.
right? They don't just get your husband, they get you. Isn't it your husband? Is Fish a nickname?
Yes, that is a nickname he has learned on their pastoral staff. They have 2 Pastor Ryans, if he would go by his first name, and then 2 Pastor Aarons, if another set would go by their first names.
Okay.
So, and also 2 Chris's. So,
Okay.
Fish has
Okay.
been his nickname since he was a kid, though.
Okay. How did he get that?
Well, one of the pastors on staff, he was trying to show off in front of him whenever he was a kid.
Okay.
And he essentially tried to jump a chair. It didn't go well. He flopped like a fish. So there we are.
Great. That's
so he
great.
has been stuck with that name since childhood.
He's going to love that we told this story, or you told it.
It's been shared from the pulpit. It's
Okay.
fine.
He'll be all right. He'll be all right. Well, share with us a little bit about your work, because obviously you have an interest in Church of God and Church of God ministers and families. Share with us the work that you've been doing and maybe some of the things that you're kind of seeing through your work.
Absolutely. Like you said, I have been raised in Church of God. This is kind of my heart. And I remember being a kid and starting to feel like the call of ministry on my life, hearing people say, well, I'm called to be a pastor's wife, things like that. Seeing people that grew up in that culture, because I did not. So it was a different experience for me to see that from the outside. I am a clinical psychologist. I treat patients of all ages. I started out as a kid person and said, that's what I'm going to do. That all changed with a lady that is now 83 years old, and she is just the sweetest thing ever. And over time, it's really just adjusted based off of the need of where I work and the community. So it's really been great to see just kind of the gamut of diagnoses and ages and stages of life. So it's been really cool. I also work directly with the Cancer Center in our area. So a lot of people, as they're dealing with some of the scariest times of their life, and people will refer patients to me because of my background in ministry and my specific area of research, which is pastor of families. So speaking of my research, which is really how we got here in the first place.
It is.
I have my life's career ambition is to so into the research and the body of research that we have with treating and respecting and caring for pastoral families. Because like you said, it's a 2-for-1. Whenever you get my husband, you get me. Whenever you have a pastor and a pastor spouse, you have pastor's kids.
Absolutely.
And you have pastor parents, and
Absolutely.
everybody is involved in this. So if you're getting a phone call in the middle of the night, your kids are involved in that.
Yeah.
So it's all over. My research started out with pastor spouses, which of course is really heavily inclined to be a pastor's wife, just culturally. It's not always the case, but a lot of what I've found is. And what we found in that first study for me was that their rates of depression were extremely high. Same for anxiety. So actually, that first study, I found that depression was, I believe, in the moderately severe range, and anxiety was in the moderate range.
Okay.
And that was just the average score among almost 300 different participants from across the country, which is really, really upsetting. Significant predictors of that was burnout and emotional exhaustion, and then some secondary traumatic stress. So secondary traumatic stress is, if you don't know what that means, it's whenever you are in a helping profession, you are either a witness to, or you are the point person that somebody brings their cares and their hurts to. So you are carrying that weight with them.
Absolutely.
So we're seeing that as a significant predictor as well. And then also, I'm looking into what was the culture of the environment that you're in? Did they talk about mental health in a way that we can discuss this openly? Or did you just need to pray more? Did you have access to mental health care? Could you say out loud, hey, I'm feeling really down? Because it's scriptural. We see mental health in scripture, but why can we not talk about it out loud?
It's a good point, because the culture that we have, not just in the Church of God, but in the church culture as a whole, that if we admit that we're struggling it's almost like a weakness in some ways, or we're not spiritual enough. Sometimes you should just pray more, which I'm going to say something that might be controversial. Sometimes prayer is not enough.
Sometimes you need some support and some answers and some science.
Yes.
Because God gave us science and God gave us knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah.
We have to be willing to use that.
So why do you think, when you look at this, especially with pastoral spouses here, and depression being so high, and anxiety being moderately high, what do you think the main contributor is? That do you think it's because they don't have anyone to talk to? Do you think it's because of the culture itself? Do you think because there's lack of boundaries? I mean, it could be a litany of things, quite frankly.
Exactly. There is a litany of things. The study that I did showed the burnout, emotional exhaustion, and secondary traumatic stress, but there could be so many other contributing factors.
Yeah.
So I'm very much on the ground floor of this thing with the whole family, really.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing that strikes me is that so much of this comes from just the fact that pastors don't have office hours.
Exactly.
It is your life. I mean, it's your calling, and it is what you are always a pastor. You are always at work, and you are always on call in some methods, and managing that need is difficult. It's the boundaries thing that we always talk about here.
Yeah.
And it's the privilege of our lives to be in ministry and to have somebody trust us and to give us that space in their lives where they want to seek us out if there's an issue. If they're hurting, they know that they can trust us. That's the privilege of our lifetime.
Absolutely.
And we honor that, but we also have to be able to have boundaries with that of what am I willing to do? How can I help you, and then also help myself in that process?
And as a counselor, I had to learn that I can't fix them. That's not my job. And it's important to have those boundaries, because not only does it help me, but it helps the clients that I am trying to help in the future.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Talking about boundaries, man, you've been in ministry for a little while now, right? Is it tough? Even though you know what the boundaries are, it's still tough to do, isn't it?
It is, because you love them.
Right.
That's your whole purpose,
Yes.
is to love them. But also having to learn that boundary for yourself is really, really difficult, because you feel like you're letting somebody down or you're not meeting the need. And that feels discouraging to yourself. And it's not, I don't know, sometimes we like being needed.
Absolutely.
It's reinforcing. So we're exhausting ourselves in the process.
What sort of things does your family do to protect itself and to create to create healthy boundaries?
Honestly, it's a learning curve. With every person, it varies based off of, and I hate to say it that way, it's something that we have to learn how to do on a regular basis.
Sure.
And to adjust. I will say, if we are on vacation, which doesn't happen often,
Right.
we will turn the calling off.
Yeah.
We'll check in. We have people in place that, thankfully we are at a church that facilitates small group leaders. So we have people that know, hey, they're out of town. Hey, let me step in here. But that's not always feasible. And you have to be realistic about it too. So it's a learning curve, and I screw it up on a regular basis. I'd say we all do.
We all, it is a trial and error, isn't it? And we're caregivers, like you said. We care, just like our ministers and our ministerial families. They care so much. But my goodness, going back to not having office hours, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't respect your time, no one else will.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said this before. If you're saying yes to someone, you're saying no to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And typically that's your family.
Yes, absolutely. So that is my next area of research interest, which is the mental health of adults raised in Christian ministry families. Honestly, it's just easier to do research with adults because they can consent easily.
Yeah.
Sure.
After 18, they can sign those papers for themselves. But an adult also has some wisdom and some things that they've seen and they've learned already, which is really cool. Maybe they didn't understand what was going on whenever they were a kid. So the thing that I'm working on right now, I'm really excited about. I've created this congregational expectation. I'm not going to call it a scale because it's not validated or anything yet, but it's at least a collection of questions that I'm really, really excited for. And it's things like, did you feel pressure to be perfect? Did you feel pressure that your behavior was going to reflect on your families? Things of that nature. And then it's also looking at things like well-being and resiliency, the things that you learned, but also, of course, looking at psychological distress and shame. And, my hope is that I can find a denomination, a body, something that is really supporting these families very well, and then I can go in and study that well.
Sure.
And we can turn that into a model. I would love if the Church of God was like, oh yeah, our scores are popping off and they're great. Fine, we've got the answer. Let's go tell everybody.
Yeah.
And if they don't, then let's build it.
It makes me excited just being here at General Assembly, talking to people and getting to know people like yourself, Dr. Bradley, because I see no reason why the Church of God cannot be a pillar and leader in mental health when it comes to ministerial families. I don't know many denominations out there that offer counseling at no cost to our ministers.
Yeah, I feel like the Church of God is definitely at the forefront of this.
Absolutely. And I think it's just a matter of assembling the team that God has for us. We got so many, like yourself, so many educated, not only just well-educated individuals, but Holy Spirit and inspired. Have you noticed that when you are counseling with people, they find out that you're a Christian? They know that because do you counsel with just ministers, or you counsel with just about
everybody,
right? Is there a difference whenever people find out you're a Christian, that you have faith? Does it change the counseling aspect for you or the dynamics?
So I like to tell my students that I'm a chameleon.
Okay.
So I don't necessarily have a billboard that says, this is who I am,
Sure.
bring this to me. I meet people where they are. And if they bring that out, then I can meet them with that. I'm not forcing anything or,
Right.
because I'm not in that type of setting.
Because you want to meet them right, like you said,
Exactly.
right where they're at.
Right where they are.
Yeah.
I've got excellent relationships with patients that have no idea that I have any type of faith whatsoever. And I can meet them with that. But there's some patients that they'll bring this to me, and whenever they open that door, I can walk with them.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool place. I like to say that I exist at the intersection of mental health and ministry.
Absolutely.
That's my goal in life.
Absolutely. You've been able to do that head on, and you've been doing it for how long now?
I graduated in 2019, so I'm about, 8 years in, 7 years in, something like that at this
Close.
point.
You're
Something
close.
along those lines. I'm still falling under the banner of the early career psychologist, so I get the discounts on membership. That's what I know.
Okay.
But I've been around long enough that I'm licensed in a few states. I'm, serving on some boards, things like that.
What's the end goal if all of this research is able to go where you hope that it can go,
Yeah.
and you can learn the things that you hope to find out, then what do you hope to then take all of this information and do?
I would love to be able to speak directly to organizations and say, hey, this is what we know. This is what works. Can we help you to implement these programs? Can we help you to educate your families, your pastoral families, when they're going through things like MIP and camps? Can we talk about those things?
Right.
And in West Virginia, where I'm located, we do. During the camps classes, we're talking about it. During MIP, we're talking about it. I don't know that everybody's doing that, but it's a great thing that we're offering.
Absolutely. Right. And quite frankly, I think it's so needed. Let's be honest, ministry is not getting easier. And it's becoming more isolated. It's becoming more difficult. And with social media, everything that's just kind of coming at us all at once. We learned through the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
Which, we like to think it was 1,000 years ago. It wasn't, right? We see what isolation does to us. And I am so thankful for the work that you're doing. I am hoping that we can connect.
Absolutely. I'd love to.
Work together and figure out ways that we can continue to better serve our ministers. Because you said something I think is education is so important. It's not God's design for us to become burned out, right? The body tells us oftentimes, slow down. And how many times do we just ignore that signal?
Oh, yeah. We ignore that cue on a regular basis because we have to.
Yeah.
It's this cognitive distortion that we should be able to do everything, meet everybody's needs, rise to every occasion that is asked of us. But if we push ourselves to that limit, we will burn out.
Absolutely. There's a theological kind of disturbance there in a way, because we'll say things like, well, the Holy Spirit's going to help me. The problem with that, and he does help us, don't get me wrong. He can't help you so much that it goes against God's design. And this is how God designed our bodies.
We need rest.
Yeah.
It is scriptural for us to rest.
And we don't always receive miracles. Sometimes we receive tools to handle things ourselves through our own efforts. And I think that that's something that we also often forget. We think that we're going to just pray this miracle into being and we'll be better. And while that happens and when it happens, it's amazing and incredible, but that is just not a regular occurrence. Sometimes what God gives us is the tools, the doctor, the information, the knowledge,
Well, James chapter 5, it talks about they shall recover. But recovery is a process. It's not always instantaneous, and you have to walk that recovery out. And I do that by taking my medication, by learning things.
Absolutely.
By eating well and taking care of myself and my family.
I love Paul, but only Paul had that Damascus Road experience, right? Not many of us are like Paul. And the reality of it is, I do believe we learn more, and God still teaches us through a process, right? And sometimes miracles happen in different ways.
Yes.
And so, Dr. Bradley, thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I'm referring to you to Dr. Bradley, Jessica, whatever, right?
Totally fine.
As I get to know you a little bit better, I might feel more comfortable just calling you on a first name basis. But nonetheless, thank you for being with us today.
It's been my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
It's been awesome. So glad I got to meet you. So glad that we're going to be able to connect. And so we hope that you've enjoyed this episode of Pastoring on Purpose. And so for myself, for our co-host and producer, Ryan, and for Dr. Jessica Bradley, we'll see you next time. Until then, God bless.